Hey, guess what? I got bad news. Your bank account is lying to you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Do Business Show. I'm Todd Frazier, your host. And today in this episode, we're going to talk about something that I know is probably the most overlooked component of any successful business. And I know this because this is what comes up in conversations with my clients or just people in general that I meet when we're talking about their business, and they say, "Oh yeah, no, I don't do that," or I haven't done that yet. And really, it is a critical piece, and it's not a difficult piece, but it is, a little bit annoying, and some people, it just scares some people. It scares some people. So, but this is the one thing that if you really are serious about growing your business, this component needs to be a part of it. And I'm going to tell you why. So let me back up a little bit. If you're new here, or if you don't know who I am, I'm Todd Frazier. I'm a CPA, and I have business clients that I do their taxes and I do their bookkeeping and accounting. And then I also do business strategy about growing their business and all of those kind of things that go along with the financial side of running a business. And years ago, I wrote a book called Burn Your Plans and Do Things. And really, it was just a book around my philosophy of life about how to get things done, how to do things, how to think about what you want to do and how to take steps to accomplish it. Not saying that I can guarantee results. I'm just saying that this is the way a lot of people get stuck because they just never start. And so my philosophy around that has to do with doing things, literally just doing. And so I created this method that is it's outlined in the book, and I talk about everything related to what that means and define it and give you steps to take that process. But out of the book came the Do Things method. And the Do Things method is just a simple 4-step process that you can utilize to do anything. And those 4 steps are perspective, process, results, repeat. And on this show, we talk about business. We talk about doing business. And so if we take the Do Things method and we rename it the Do Business method, then we take these 4 components, the perspective, process, results, repeat, and we change those names specifically for the top, in my opinion, the top 3 components of any successful business. You have a product or service, you have some solution for somebody that needs it, and you have that available for them, and then you sell that to the person that needs it, and then you evaluate the sale of the product or service, and then you repeat it, you adjust, and then you continue. And that is the business cycle. You have a product or service, you sell the product or service, you evaluate how it did, and then you adjust and then do it again. Now, the piece that most people miss in this is the evaluate piece. It's right there. When you're thinking about it, how do I tell? How do I know if I'm doing well? You have to evaluate. Well, how do you evaluate a business? The answer is accounting records. That's it. It's simple. Having accurate and up-to-date accounting records. Think of it this way. If you're watching a game, if you're watching the Super Bowl, I love football. Go Steelers. And you're watching a game, you're watching the Super Bowl, and there's no scoreboard. You have no idea what the score is. Are you going to be interested in that football game? I'm probably not going to really care all that much if there's no scoreboard. And if you're playing in the game, how do you know if you're winning or losing, how much you need to come back to go ahead, how much you're ahead by so that you can decide how to play defense or offense or whatever? You have no tool to evaluate how you are performing in that game. It's also the same as if you're driving your car and your gas gauge doesn't work. We've all driven a car, or maybe been in a car at least, that has a broken gauge or two. But if your gas gauge is broken, you're totally just guessing. You're just saying, it started yesterday or earlier today when I drove it, so it should start now. Do you know how far you're going to be able to get? No. Do you know if it's actually going to start? No, you don't. That tool is an evaluation tool to say, how is my car doing? Do I have enough gas to go to the next place I need to get to? And that's exactly what financial records are for a business. They are the evaluation tool for you to tell, am I doing well or am I not doing well? And where do I need to find things to adjust or get rid of while I'm doing the business so that I can be successful? And which is why I tell you at the beginning, and I'm saying it tongue in cheek, but not really tongue in cheek. Your bank balance is lying to you. Your online banking is lying to you. So many of my customers that come to me either at tax time or throughout the year, and they say, what do I need to bring to you for taxes? And if you're running a business, the question should be, what reports do you need out of my accounting system so that you can do my taxes? But there still are plenty of people that just focus on their product or service. They do have a portion of the business cycle. They have the product or service, the solution that they have for their customers, and they can sell that product or service. And after that, they just look at their bank account. They look at their online banking to say, hey, can I buy this thing? Can I hire this person? Can I spend this money on advertising? That's a terrible way to do it. That is absolutely the worst way to do it. I don't know if you ever heard of the shoebox theory when it comes time to do your taxes. And in the old days, people would bring a shoebox never happened to me. Nobody ever brought me a shoebox. So don't think any of my clients, I'm telling that this is you. It's not you. But they would bring you a shoebox with just receipts and papers and say, here you go, figure it out. That's now digital, a digital shoebox of documents. But if you're just handing someone at the end of the year a box of papers that you really don't know what's in it, and you have no idea how you did, and you're waiting for them to do the calculations and put it together so that you can see how you did, how in the world are you running a business? You're flying blind. The big reason that if you don't have accounting records and all you're doing is checking your online banking to see where you're at or looking at bank statements, is that they don't tell you what's working. They don't tell you what's working. All they tell you is, at a moment of time, do I have money in the bank or do I not? That's all that it tells you. They say what's there, not what's performing. That's an important piece of when you've got any business. There are performance indicators that are going to give you either a winning or a losing evaluation point, and then you can adjust along the way. If you don't know what's performing, how in the world are you supposed to lean into what's doing well? You can't see what services are profitable or which employees are essential or maybe need to go away, or what divisions are dragging you down. I've got several clients where they have multiple divisions within their industry. They're not like going out and doing different, working in a different industry, but they have different divisions inside of their industry. And how in the world would they know what division is winning or losing if they didn't have a way to evaluate that with financial statements? It just really is the fastest way to lose at whatever your business is if you don't have accurate financial statements. So within that, what else does it give you? When you have financial statements, if you're looking at an income statement and you can say, hey, I sold this much, my revenue number was this, my total cost for my product, my cost of goods or cost of services was X. And then you've got your gross profit margin. If you've never heard gross profit margin and you run a business, you probably don't have accounting records, because gross profit margins are what drive a lot of times which service or product is winning. Gross profit margin is the first gauge. And then after that, with all your overhead and everything else related to operating the business, you have your net profit. Those are really the three big things. What's your revenue? What's your gross profit margin? And then what's your net profit at the end of the day? And your net profit, that's what you pay tax on at the end of the year. So if you have accurate accounting records, you have clarity and control over all of those things, and you can see them as you go so that you can make adjustments before it's too late. And then blind decisions can be expensive. They can be extremely expensive if you don't realize that you're putting money into a product line or a service that is actually costing you more money than it's making you. And I've had that happen before with clients where they're like, we're really going to push into this part of our business because we really see it as the future. And then we look at the actual numbers, and that actually is the worst performing division of their company, and they've had to either completely revamp it or they've had to shut it down because they realized, oh, that's not actually where we're making money. It feels good, or it looks nice, and it's a great thing to tell people that you do, but it doesn't actually make you money. Now, I will say one caveat to that: if you have a service or division or product that is kind of runs along parallel with what your business is, and it is a community-facing or front-facing type of product or service, and people see that, and that's kind of a reputation builder. If it's not making you money, you also could think about, well, is this a good advertising tool? I have one client that they're an electrical contractor, and one of the things that they did that we came in and I looked at and I said, I don't think this makes sense, is they were hanging signs for local businesses. They do huge military contracts and stuff, but they were hanging signs for local businesses. And I said, why do you do this? It doesn't actually make you money. It's not something that's adding to your bottom line. What's the purpose of that? And it was a great answer. The owner says, well, it's actually a great way for us to stay in front of the community. It's a great way for us as a community-focused organization to be in front of people, for them to see, oh, wow, hey, I know that name. I know where they're from. Yeah, they're doing good stuff. I see them all over town. And that is the only scenario where, if you have a division or a product or service that is losing money, could make sense, because it's driving something else. It's driving visibility, it's driving marketing, and it's driving people either potentially into upselling into other services or products. But if you don't have financial statements, or if you don't have accurate accounting records, you have no idea. You have no idea. And that can get very expensive, because you can put money into something that you think is a great idea, and then later when you realize, why don't I have any money in the bank? Or why do I have this big problem inside of my organization? It's because you weren't paying attention and you pushed into something that wasn't winning. So all in all, if you're running a business, you have to have accurate and up-to-date accounting records if you are going to be able to evaluate what's going on and ultimately win in whatever industry you're in. You have to have it. And there's so many people that I talk to that are just saying, yeah, I just checked my bank account. I can't believe some of the businesses, people that have revenues in the millions of dollars a year, and they're saying, yeah, I just checked my bank account. Like, I'm not really paying attention to my accounting records, or I don't have accounting records. That's the scarier one. If you at least have a QuickBooks or a Xero or even a spreadsheet, please have something better than the spreadsheet. But they have something and they're like, I just don't pay attention to it. How in the world are you able to rule of thumb or intuition your way into success? Maybe somebody's been doing it a long time, and they do their estimates or their quotes on such an extremely high level that there's enough buffer in there for them to win. But if you're really wanting to be serious and grow your business, that's not the way to do it. So that's the extent of what I think is important for you to understand as a business owner. If you really want to make an impact and you want to grow your business and you want to be able to make adjustments and you want to make tweaks, and you listen to all these people on the internet that are talking about how you can do this and do that for your business, one of the first things Alex Hormozi is a great example. One of the first things he always talks about is, what's your CAC? What's your LTV? These are all calculations based on financial statement information that you would get from having accurate financial records. That's where you start. So if you don't have financial records, you can't even get into some of these people that are talking about some of the nuts and bolts of how you really grow a business or you really take action in whatever it is that you're doing. So hopefully I've made the point very clear. If you're running a business, you have to have accurate and up-to-date accounting records. And then you might be asking the question, okay, Todd, I get it. I hear you. I hate accounting. I don't like numbers, or I've had a really bad experience and I'm afraid to go back into that, which we have to get and do hard things all the time if we run businesses. But there are plenty of solutions, especially nowadays, that can make it less painful or even painless to do your accounting. The software platforms I always recommend: QuickBooks Online, super easy, super simple. It's a little bit more expensive than, say, Xero, but I think it's the most intuitive. I think it actually gives better reports. And one of the other things that it does is it integrates with so many different platforms. Xero integrates with a lot of platforms too. So whichever one of those you want to choose, I would go either one or two. We'll probably do a video down the line evaluating accounting software, but I typically recommend QuickBooks Online. I think it works the best. I think it's a clean interface. I think they're making updates all the time. And from what I've experienced, it's also the easiest to access for me as a tax preparer. So if you've got a CPA that's involved that isn't involved in your accounting, you can just give them access and they can jump in, pull whatever reports they need. That takes the burden off of you and your accounting staff to have to get things to the CPA at the end of the year or mid-year if you're doing an evaluation there. And so the other way is to hire an accounting person or accounting staff that knows what they're doing, or outsource to someone like me, Fraser Industries, where we do accounting and bookkeeping for businesses across the country. And then we also do tax. I do recommend that if you are doing outsourcing, that you would look at maybe somebody that also does tax so that they can integrate the strategies for planning for taxes and growing your business in a way that it's just a lot more, there's a lot more synergy there. I hate buzzwords like that. It just makes more sense. It's common sense. How about that? That works for you, right? So if you're looking for those kind of things, we can actually help you. Fraser Industries is, I'm a CPA. We've been doing accounting for a long time. And we love helping people with their businesses. You can go to our website, Frazinc, FRAZINC.com, and schedule a free consultation. We can talk about your business. I'd love to hear about that and see how we can help you. But ultimately, whether you use me or use someone else or you try and do it on your own, please get accurate and up-to-date accounting records for your business. Having the evaluation tool at your fingertips is going to make your life so much better. It's going to potentially take stress off of your plate because you're not worrying. You're just looking at the bank balance and wondering, when's that payment going to come in from XYZ customer before either my check clears if you're still writing checks, or my credit card payment goes through, or whatever the payable is that you're dealing with. Get your records in order. There's so many things that you can do, and you can really start to innovate and change things and tweak things to the point of where you're maximizing your business. You're taking everything that you possibly can to grow and be successful in your business, because that's what we want. That's what I want, is for you to be successful in whatever it is that you do. Hopefully that was helpful and it made sense to you. If it did, drop a comment or a like below. Make sure to subscribe, because we're going to have a lot more content coming out helping business owners do business, take action inside of whatever their industry is, and give you tips and tricks and strategies to be successful along the way. Again, I'm Todd Frazier, and I'm so glad that you're here. We'll see you in the next episode.